Is The Legend of Zelda about a damsel in distress, or a world in distress at the hands of a damsel? Could this legend be named after Hyrule's true villain? My name is Nook. Allow me to explain. The Triforce. These sacred triangles are the physical embodiment of the goddesses who created Hyrule, and stand as a representation of the goddesses' attributes in balance: Din and her power, Varora's courage, and the wisdom of Naru. The Triforce exists in only one of two ways: fully formed or completely separated. When fully formed, the Triforce can grant a wish reflecting one's deepest desires. If separated, the pieces seek hosts with hearts that reflect their imbued attributes. Ganondorf gaining power, Link with undying courage, and Zelda takes on wisdom. We see these characters' motivations come to life in the way they use their individual pieces, as well as in their wishes upon the Triforce in whole. Ganondorf seeks power, and a powerful disdain burns in his heart for the royal Hyrulean family. When granted his wish before the events of A Link to the Past, he gains dominion and power over the Sacred Realm, the home of the Triforce, and turns it into the Dark World. Link is the embodiment of courage, capable of overcoming impossible odds and selflessly risking his own life in order to save others. His wishes upon the Triforce have all been selfless, wishing for Demise's end in Skyward Sword, the eradication of Ganon's Dark World in A Link to the Past, and he even uses his sole wish to bring Princess Zelda out of a deep magical slumber in Adventure of Link, or Zelda 2. And Zelda has been blessed with the Triforce of Wisdom, the piece of the balance that blesses someone with good judgment and makes sure that every decision made is based in logic and experience. But Zelda herself has never laid a hand on the Triforce in whole, and all of Hyrule should rejoice for that reason. Because even though Zelda has been blessed with the wisdom of the goddesses, she has made catastrophic mistakes, bringing her wisdom to question. Look at her actions in Ocarina of Time. Princess Zelda fears that Ganondorf is seeking the Triforce in order to take over Hyrule. She pleads for Link to retrieve the Sacred Triangle before the King of Thieves gets to it. Ganondorf follows Link and is led directly to the Triforce, and Link has to fight through hell and high water in order to dethrone the new evil king. Sounds pretty normal for a Zelda game, right? Link and Zelda work together to defeat Ganondorf, but looking more closely at her choices, you can see where Zelda misstepped. Zelda orders Link to obtain the Triforce from its secret and secure location, the Sacred Realm. In order to get in, Link has to find 3 keys, the spiritual stones, in which Ganondorf himself has already failed to obtain. He cursed the Great Deku Tree, inflicted illness on Lord Jabu Jabu, and disturbed the Dodongos of Death Mountain to no avail. Ganondorf has already been defeated, but Zelda uses Link's pure and courageous heart to unlock the Sacred Realm, escorting Ganondorf straight to the Triforce. If Zelda had done nothing, Ganondorf would have remained defeated, with Hyrule safe and at peace. But of course, at the point that Zelda made this decision, she didn't have the Triforce of Wisdom, and she was only 11, but her meddling in affairs with the Sacred Realm starts the highly debated split in the Zelda timeline. After Ocarina of Time, we find 3 branches going forward, adult and child timelines, as well as a third, the hero is defeated timeline. The hero is defeated is a whole other bag of cats for another time, but in short, with the Sacred Realm opened by order of Princess Zelda, Link is defeated, a war begins, and Ganondorf gets his hands on the Triforce and turns its resting place into the Dark World that we see in A Link to the Past. But how do the other timelines come to be? Back in Ocarina of Time, after Link cleans up Zelda's mess by defeating Ganondorf, Zelda admits to Link, "All the tragedy that has befallen Hyrule was my doing." And she sends Link back in time to before she ordered Link as a child to open the Sacred Realm. But in doing so, again we see Zelda's lack of wisdom come through. Child Link's new actions lead him down a different timeline of events, the Child Link timeline. And Zelda's present world in the Adult Link timeline continues to exist without a hero. The repercussions of this become apparent in Wind Waker, the following game in the Adult timeline. An evil presence rose, but no one came. Without a hero, the goddesses found it necessary to intervene and flood the world, risking all life in Hyrule merely to defeat the rising darkness that could have been combated if the hero were still there. An entire world flooded, all because of Zelda's decision to send a Link to the past. The flooding of an entire world isn't the only consequence for Zelda's actions at the end of Ocarina, though. After the credits, Link arrives as a child in the castle gardens for the first time, again, but this time to warn Zelda about what letting Ganondorf into the Sacred Realm will do to Hyrule. He uses his piece of the Triforce as proof of his story, since at the time the Triforce was securely locked away in the Sacred Realm. But as we know, the Triforce cannot simply be missing a piece. It must be all together or completely separated. So, if Link has the Triforce of Courage as a child, the Triforce must have been forced to split when he entered the new timeline, ensuring he would still have the piece he had as an adult. Of course, this split ended up giving young Zelda the Triforce of Wisdom and Ganondorf the Triforce of Power. Luckily for Hyrule, Zelda's and Ganondorf's Triforce pieces lay dormant for some time. In Twilight Princess, we learn that after Ocarina, Ganondorf was prosecuted for his actions against Hyrule. Actions, might I add, that he hadn't even committed yet, based on the testimony of a child claiming to be from the future. If not before, we know now where Ganondorf's hatred of the Hyrulean family comes from. But at the moment of Ganondorf's execution, we see Zelda's final folly come to fruition. As the Sage of Water runs Ganondorf through with the Executioner's sword, the Triforce of Power awakens. With this sudden influx of power, Ganondorf cheats death and kills his Executioner before he's flung into the Twilight Realm, where he uses his power to take control, inciting the events of Twilight Princess. How could someone blessed with the Triforce of Wisdom, the embodiment of the wisdom of a goddess, make such horribly inaccurate judgments? A divine being murdered, our hero defeated the Sacred Realm tainted by darkness, and an entire world flooded. Is Zelda's wisdom failing her? No, she isn't making inaccurate judgments or terrible decisions. She is making well thought out decisions to suit her own ends. Allow me to explain. Throughout the series, we see that Link is truly the embodiment of courage, having been blessed by the goddesses with the Triforce of Courage. We know that Ganondorf has an endless lust for power, and the Triforce of Power finds its likeness within him. So, if these two are so true and proven by their actions, then Zelda's wisdom cannot be questioned. Her decisions have to be based in wisdom. What we have to ask is, what does Zelda want? What could the princess be willing to sacrifice Link, the Sacred Realm, and the entire world for? The answer? The Triforce. But Zelda is good, you're saying. Is she? Is there truly good and evil in Hyrule? There's a reason the Triforce is split into 3 pieces. When fully assembled, it's in balance, able to do anything. When separate, the pieces on their own are out of balance, and unrestrained, infinite wisdom can be just as dangerous as unchecked power. Zelda may not lead endless mobs of vicious creatures, and she might not use her magic to corrupt divine protectors, but using her wisdom in some cruel ways, she has sought the same goal as Ganondorf. Young Zelda sends Link to open the Sacred Realm to retrieve the Triforce. She frames her actions with the sentiment that it's for the good of Hyrule, no, the entire world. But years later as an adult, Zelda admits all the tragedy that has befallen Hyrule was my doing. I could not comprehend the consequences of trying to control the Sacred Realm. Zelda wanted to control the Sacred Realm. Sound familiar? But she lacked the courage to go and get the Triforce herself. So, she used her wisdom, even at such a young age, to manipulate Link into getting it for her. Then, as an adult, Zelda sends Link back in time. But was it really to undo all that she had caused? No. In their final conversation, Zelda makes no mention of Link warning her younger self of what Ganondorf will do. She says, "I dragged you into it. Now go home, Link, regain your lost time." She tells Link to go away. She realizes that Link was the actual flaw in her plan, but she can still use him to her advantage. Zelda sends Link to the past, intending to grab the Triforce of Courage as he leaves it behind. Could it give her the courage to enter the Sacred Realm and obtain the Triforce of Power from the defeated Ganondorf? But having its host ripped away, and finding no one in the world deserving of the title Hero, the Triforce of Courage shatters, and we find the remnants scattered throughout the flooded world in Wind Waker. Finally, in the past, Link appears with the Triforce of Courage and decides to warn the young Zelda of Ganondorf's plans. From Link's tale, Zelda realizes that she has the Triforce of Wisdom, and is so close to having the Triforce in full. So, with her newly found wisdom, she works to have Ganondorf executed before he realizes he has the Triforce of Power, so that she can have it for herself. We know how that turns out. Link, seeing Zelda's bloodlust and finally realizing that he has been just a pawn manipulated by the one person he swore to serve, leaves to find the only true friend he had, his fairy friend, Navi. And Zelda, unleashing Ganondorf's power with the death of a sage on her hands and her pawn with his back turned on her, finally sees the destruction she has wrought in the world. Lacking the courage to face the repercussions of her actions, she locks herself away in Hyrule Castle, where we find her in Twilight Princess, watching the world below descend into darkness, all because of her cowardice and her desire for the divine relic, the Triforce. Remember, it's dangerous to go alone, so subscribe for future updates and make sure to check out my first explained video about Batman Arkham Knight. If you liked the video or want to see other topics or games explained, let me know down below. I would love to talk to you. Until next time, remember that the world can't be simply split into good and evil, and make sure you always know what you're fighting for. My name is Nook, and this has been the true villain of Hyrule, Explained.